What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'm your host, as always. Joining me is my co-captain, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And luckily, this is a very low-key episode, but it's still great, the stuff that we'll be talking about. We've got reviews for Case 4, or Season 2, of Great Pretender. And we'll be talking about both seasons 1 and 2 of the delightful Netflix animated series Hilda. But first, Cameron, let's run down some of these news stories.
Well, I mean, first off, you say it's a pretty lightweight episode, but I think considering some of the themes that we'll be talking about, I don't know.
Good point.
We'll get there when we get there. So, our war with the sponge will probably come to an end soon. Sponge on the Run finally has a US release date. It is coming in February 2021 for all the good that it will do.
Meanwhile, the rest of the world is laughing at us.
I installed a VPN and watched it on Canada's Netflix. I don't think any US fan waiting for this film is going to be happy about how long the wait has been. Paramount has royally screwed over this film's release, and it doesn't make sense why we have to wait 1 year for this movie. It's SpongeBob. It will make money. Why didn't they release this like last month or maybe in October? Just they messed up. Let
me just play devil's advocate for a second. What if they delayed it simply to tie it closer to their Camp Coral prequel?
I could see that, but I mean, we'll talk about this maybe next episode or whatever about this movie along with a few others. But it's not a great presentation or just kind of like push to that Camp Coral thing, because the Camp Coral aspect doesn't even show up a whole lot in the movie. It shows up for probably 5 total minutes throughout the entire film. And I don't know, it's like if people were excited, like if they were really hyping up this new series with this movie, I don't know if it's a good job or not. But I don't know. I'm not a kid. Kids are probably going to watch this and be excited for Camp Coral. Well, we'll just have to see. I don't know. I guess. Or release via their Paramount Plus streaming service. But, oh well. Anyway, we'll talk about that movie next time, or we'll see what happens. Next up, G-Kids and Shout Factory have announced a release date for Ongaku R Sound on Blu-ray and DVD and digital platforms. You can get this quirky, truly quote-unquote indie Japanese animated film March 9th in 2021. It will include the making of Ongaku, a behind-the-scenes featurette, a live musical performance, a demo, which I'm guessing either music or maybe like an animated pitch, the Rock Festival pencil test, short films by Kenji Iwaisawa, storyboards gallery, and trailers for the film. So I got to watch this film again recently on a screener, and I still really love this movie. I still think it's one of the best of the year.
Do you think it holds up better a second time?
Yes, I think once I got to rewatch it again, I was able to still laugh and enjoy the very quirky and obtuse nature of the film. And I mean, yes, you can start to see more of where everything was probably rotoscoped, and and of course the designs look weird and they look very simple, but the film keeps holding a charm with itself or about itself. And Excuse me. And I think it still holds up a second time. I don't think this film has any chances of award potential here in the States, but who knows? I just want more people to be able to see this movie.
Same.
Because who knows how many people saw it in its very limited theatrical release December 11th. So anyway, so yeah, on Gakuara Sound, can't wait for it. So the Great North, the new show from the producers of Bob's Burgers, has a premiere date for February 14th, which that's kind of funny. Valentine's Day. You want to spend it watching a new animated show? No. So, the Great North follows the Alaskan adventures of the Tobin family. As a single dad, Beef, voiced by Nick Offerman, that's a great name and a great casting choice, does his best to keep his weird bunch of kids close, especially his only daughter, Judy, voiced by Jenny Slate, whose artistic dreams lead her away from the family fishing boat and into the glamorous world of the local mall. Rounding out the family are Judy's older brother, Wolf, voiced by Will Forte, his fiancee, Honeybee, voiced by Dulce Sloan, her middle brother, Ham, voiced by Paul Rust, and 10-year-old going on 50 little brother, Moon, voiced by Aparna Nakshirla from A Simple Favor. While the children's mother is not in the picture, Judy seeks guidance from her new boss, Allison, voiced by Megan Mullally. That's a great casting choice there also. And her imaginary friend, Alanis Morissette, guest voiced as herself, who appears to her in the Northern Lights. I have seen a few test footage shots of this show, and it looks really charming. And we'll probably talk about Central Park maybe when the season 2 drops, but I've enjoyed Central Park, so I'm very excited about this new show by the Bob's Burgers producers.
Yeah, it's I love this positive reception that Bento Box has been getting over shows in this art style. I still need to go through Bob's Burgers and Central Park, but I'm pretty positive that I'll find something to enjoy in those.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely have to talk about Central Park since it's partly a musical. So
yeah, and you guys know how I feel about musicals.
Yeah, and it's really good too. The singing in the first episode is great, and the jokes were very funny, really dark at points also. So we'll have to talk about it in the future. So Adult Swim will return with Final Space, the third season of the hit adult cartoon, in early 2021. There's a first look, and yeah, this is one of those shows that I haven't watched yet, but I've heard very positive things. But I've also seen the reception of it track and go like fairly inconsistent depending on who you look or listen to about when they review or talk about the show. It's interesting because I know a lot of people were hooked by the first 3 episodes, but then after that, some people are like, oh, I don't know if my energy and positivity from those first 3 carries over into the rest of the show. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's like a show that has a strong first impression and then drops. But we'll have to see. I haven't seen it. I can't judge it on what the show is about and like the quality or my experience with it. So G Kids has announced the English voice cast for Earwig and the Witch, the CGI film by Goro Miyazaki. And let's just go over this list because wow. So Earwig's mother, I'm assuming lady with the red hair, is going to be voiced by Casey Musgraves, the country singer. Matron's going to be voiced by Pandora Collins, The assistant matron is going to be voiced by Alex Cartania. Earwig herself is going to be voiced by Taylor Paige Henderson. Mr. Jenkins is going to be voiced by J.B. Blanc. Custard, I guess another character, is going to be voiced by Logan Hannon. Phyllis is going to be voiced by Summer Jenkins. Sally. Vivian Rutherford. The cook is going to be voiced by Tom Bromhead. The assistant cook is going to be voiced by Ava Kaminsky. Bella Yaga is going to be voiced by Vanessa Marshall, who, if you're an animation fan, you've heard Vanessa Marshall everywhere. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about these last two.
Because damn.
The Mandrake, the creepy assistant to the woman who adopts Earwig, is going to be voiced by Richard E. Grant. And Thomas, the little black cat, is going to be voiced by Scarlamange himself, Dan Stevens.
Best casting choice ever.
I'm curious to see how this goes, because I think Dan Stevens has shown that he can do more than just the dead look in the eye kind of creepy look from Legion. And I mean, I think it's time to like kind of stop seeing him typecasted like that. But I really like this cast, and I think if you hear Studio Ghibli and casting and whatnot, you're going to get a few big names for that. And no, it's like whatever happens with the overall film or how I respond to it, I can't wait, especially now that I'm getting G Kids screeners. So some more Disney TV deals have been made. Bruce W. Smith and Ralph Farquhar. I'm sorry if I said that last name wrong. Has entered into a wide-ranging multi-year overall deal with Disney that calls for them to produce animated and live-action series and movies for Disney-branded television. If these names sound familiar to you, they are the people behind Proud Family, the popular early 2000s Disney show. That's pretty nice. That's, first of all, of course, getting more diverse voices for the show, for Disney's content.
Well, always a plus.
Yeah, and the Proud Family was a very funny show. I remember really liking it back in the day, but I haven't seen it in ages. And of course, this is probably happening also because the Proud Family is getting a continuation of the show on Disney Plus.
Yep, louder and prouder.
Yeah. And I think what I remember liking the most about the show was the style of animation. Because it was like limited, but limited in a way that was like expressive and still like worked. Like I know some people kind of looked at it and was like, man, the animation's really stiff. And it's like, no, there's still a lot of effort there. It's kind of like how we talked about that Dorohedoro OVA that was on Netflix. It's like, just because the animation might not have been like everything else, there was still a lot of effort put into how the characters posed, talked, and reacted. So really, it's just what you do with the art form, not how many frames and how smooth the animation is. So let's talk about the, I guess, elephant in the room with this topic. Skydance's films, or their upcoming films, Luck and Spellbound, are in talks to be moving from the theater to Apple Plus. And what do you think about this announcement?
Honestly, as far as most people who are just not in the loop of animation might not know exactly why it's uncomfortable to talk about Skydance. For those who don't know, Skydance has brought on former Disney and Pixar executive John Lasseter. We don't need to go too in depth of why he's no longer at Disney, but let's just say let's just say I don't necessarily trust him in a new leadership position.
Apparently, he's from what some people have said who like work at Skydance Animation and Paramount. He's on a very tight leash, and he doesn't, walk around and roam around. Um, but we also don't know exactly what's going on, and it doesn't really help that Luck had its first big PR disaster when um one of their stars for the film was going to be on it, and then when that happened, um let's see, I forgot. Let's see, animated film.
It was Emma Thompson
Yeah,
who
Emma.
walked off the project because
Yeah, because obviously, and there was also talks like certain animators who are not comfortable were at Skydance about this announcement, since apparently it happened like without them knowing. It's like, hey everybody, John Lasseter's going to work for us, and it's like, I'm sorry, what? And so they've been trying to like, there were like the talks were like animators were trying to find different animation gigs just in case something happens. But yeah, there's a lot to be like to make this, like, I don't know. I think there's just been too much bad blood, so Paramount is trying to cut its losses. And it's not like I'm not gonna give, like, I want to give these animated films a chance, but it's hard to not walk in with a predisposed opinion. It's like it's kind of like playing a Ubisoft game where it's just like, man, I might be enjoying this game, but Ubisoft has a terrible work environment and has scapegoated a bunch of abusive, terrible people, who worked on the games. So it's tough. We'll just have to see what happens and see if Apple actually does buy the two films.
the good thing about them being on Apple as opposed to getting theatrical releases is, one, Apple TV Plus is the cheapest of all the streaming services,
Mm-hmm.
and two, um, you know, keeping them out of theaters will, for better or for worse, keep them out of the public eye.
They will, and it also kind of scapegoats them from having to deal with losing money also, since they probably just made back the money that they were going to use on the film
Probably, yeah.
with this deal with Apple. It's kind of like how Sponge on the Run made its money back with the Netflix deal and with the rest of the world. So anyway, let's move on. So DreamWorks has set a first look deal with the director Joel Crawford, who directed the recently released The Croods: A New Age, and which is now widely available on demand. And so I'm assuming he's going to work on more movies and either produce, direct, and all that jazz. I'm curious to see what happens with this announcement, because this isn't the first time they've done this year. They did this with the Trolls World Tour director, and I'm wondering if they're trying to get their like little team of directors that they can rely on, kind of like what Illumination does, and to a degree Pixar. But we'll have to see. Any thoughts about this?
Having not seen Crude's The New Age yet, I like, generally speaking, am happy that DreamWorks is kind of locking in their talent. Now, while I would also like to see more outside voices,
Mm-hmm.
locking in like a core team of filmmakers, it does help to give the studio kind of like a sort of an in-house style.
Yeah, I think that could help them a lot, because sometimes I feel like DreamWorks doesn't have a style, and that's a good and bad thing, because sometimes it's like, I don't know what to expect in a good way from them. But sometimes it's like, I just don't know if they have an idea of what they want to be as a studio. But we'll have to see. Good on him. Hopefully his future projects turn out to be good. Disenchantment, the new series by the Simpsons and Futurama creator Matt Groening, will return with a part 3, or I don't know why they call him part 3 because it's another season. January 15th, 2021, and it will continue the story that left off with part 2 of, well, obviously. And I'm looking forward to it, I guess. I'm not the biggest fan of Disenchantment. I'm kind of okay on it. I like a few aspects of it, mostly the voice cast. Like to have John DiMaggio and Billy West and Maurice Lamar and oh, what's his name? Eric Andre as well. And I I'm curious to see where the story goes, but I don't know. I've kind of given this show 2 seasons and I'm still not fully hooked on it. But we'll have to see. Have you seen the show yet?
I have not, which is weird to say because I was such a huge Futurama fan during, if not its prime, then certainly its Adult Swim era. But I don't know. I've been hesitant about Disenchantment because the initial reviews have been kind of lukewarm. But I will check this out eventually once season 3 comes around.
Yeah, no, I hope it's good. I mean, I hope I enjoy it. I don't want to go into movies or shows thinking like, oh man, this is going to be the worst. Because that's not fun. You're judging the show before you see it, or the season, I guess. But of course, sometimes that's what happens. You go in thinking it might be bad or good, and then, oh, big shock, the show that looked bad was bad. So, or the show that looked good was good. So, January 22nd, we will see a return to Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous for its second season, where obviously it picks up from where the first season left off, with the kids still stuck on the island. And I hope this isn't a case of just the trailers being edited like this. It looks to be a more serious toned season, and it will comprise of 8 22-minute episodes. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this is like a in-between time period of Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom, but I kind of dug the show during the second half, and I'm just curious to see what happens.
Um, yeah, I agree with you in that the second half of season 1 is where the show really picked up. So I'm wondering if like season 2 is going to be a little bit more consistent in its tone.
Yeah.
I mean, the kids are still stuck on the island, so it's got to be at least a little bit darker just with that premise alone.
Well, apparently in the new season, they're going to have to deal with the T-Rex that's on the island, and a few new carnivorous dinosaurs. And I think one thing that kind of irked me about the trailer for season 2 was that the vlogger media influencer character was still doing that kind of stuff, and it's like, do you care that you're still stuck on an island with dinosaurs? It's like I said on a free for all with Taken 2, where the daughter is just like, "Oh, Dad, you're just overreacting," and it's just like, you almost died and got sold off. What is with you? But we'll have to see. And no, I'm looking forward to it because at least like we said, the second half kind of picked up everything. Speaking of Netflix, got a lot of Netflix news right now. They're working on a new animated film called The Magician's Elephant. It will be produced by Animal Logic, which worked on Happy Feet and the Lego Movie. It will be, let's see, when Peter, voiced by Ford v. Ferrari's Noah Jupe, who is searching for his long-lost sister named Adele, voiced by Pixie Davies, crosses paths with a fortune teller in the market square, there is only one question on his mind. Is his sister still alive? The answer, that he must find a mysterious elephant and the magician, voiced by Benedict Wong, who will conjure it. It sets Peter off on a harrowing journey to complete 3 seemingly impossible tasks that will change the face of his town forever. In addition to Lupe, Davies, and Wong, the voice cast includes Sion Clifford, Natasha Dimitru, Don French, Brian Tyree Henry, Asif Manvi, Mandy Patinkin, Miranda Richardson, Cree Summers, and Lorraine Toussaint. It'll be the directorial debut of visual effects veteran Wendy Rogers, who worked on Shrek, The Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian, Puss in Boots, and Flushed Away. And it's produced by Julia Pistor, who worked on Pistor, who worked on Jimmy Neutron, Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. This sounds cool. I'm so looking forward to what Netflix is doing with animation. If Arlo the Alligator Boy is any indication of like the quality that we'll probably be seeing, that they're doing a good job.
Yeah, like the next couple years for Netflix are looking very exciting, and looking at this cast, just like, damn.
Yeah, it's like I watched that Super Intelligence film on HBO Max. It was okay. I was just kind of seeing because Brian Tyree Henry is in it, and I was just kind of like, please put him in something good. Just stop giving him stuff like the Joker and this. Put him in like a meteor role like in Spider-Verse and so on. And I've been a huge fan of Benedict Wong, and yeah, no, it's great. So yeah, just really just nothing to show as of right now, but the concept art looks nice. So Shout Factory has, I mean, I guess they'd read my editorial on that. I'm like, man, they're not really picking up a lot of animated films. So they snagged 2 of them. The first one will be Sola Media's Dream Builders, which is directed by Kim Hagen Jensen, who worked on All Dogs Go to Heaven and Ferngully, and Tony Zink, who worked on The Neon Demon.
Of all things.
He was the visual effects person on that movie. He wasn't the director. The article's not very clear on that, but it was just a weird thing to read. It's like, wait, what's someone on the Neon Demon doing here? And you look at the art style, and it's just like there's a disconnect there. Like, unless we're going to see like a dead body or something. So I mean, so Dream Builders is let's see here, is about, so Mina's life is turned upside down when her dad's new fiance Helena and her daughter Jenny move in. Her new stepsister Jenny turns out to be horrible, and Mina is frustrated. She wants her gone. One night, Mina discovers a world behind her dreams in which the Dream Builders create our dreams on theater stages and finds out how to manipulate Jenny's dreams. But interfering with people's dreams have dire consequences, and when Mina goes too far one night, Jenny can't wake up anymore. Yikes. Mina must enter the dream world one final time to face the dreams she has created in order to save Jenny and her new family. This actually sounds a little more interesting than what the images I've seen for the film give off.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll have to see. I don't know. I'm kind of like mid hype for this one, just based on that alone. I guess I want to see what this film looks like in motion.
Same, because I don't get much of an impression off of the that still image.
No, that's the problem with some of these films trying to do the Pixar or Disney kind of vibe. It's tough. Because it's like at least with like Pixar and Disney, it's like you look at the art and still images from them, and it's like, okay, I get it. I get what they're doing. With some of these overseas productions, it's like, I don't know. But that's not the only film that they picked up. If you were around the Annecy Film Festival in 2020, the online experience, you probably saw a preview clip for this one. The Chinese animated film The Legend of Hei And Shout Factory will be bringing it over. And so The Legend of Hei is based off of a comic and a Flash cartoon series. The film will follow a little cat demon whose forest home is destroyed by humans. Forced to wander, he is joined by other sympathetic supernatural beings and even an earnest human, blending ecological themes, heartwarming moments, and magical touches, as well as action-packed battles. The movie is produced by MTJJ Animation, Beijing Hanmu Chunhua Animation, Beijing Jian Yinghua, and Dreamcastle and Hei Capital. No release date yet. I'm going to assume it's going to be an early to mid release, depending on how things go and like how quick they can get the English dub and the subtitles up.
So probably like summer 2021.
I'm going to assume spring or summer. But I'm so happy that finally someone is bringing this over, because because this is funny. In China, it had a pretty good reception and a good box office run. It opened at #1 over Hobbs and Shaw and over Neza, the animated film I talked about last time on this podcast, and toting up $48 million, which I'm sure I don't know how much this film costs, but I'm going to assume it's a profit, because foreign animation, from what I have seen, do not work on the same budgeting shenanigans that we get into here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever it is, oh man, it looks great. And any thoughts?
I'm just excited to see this because, for 2D animation in China, it looks very Miyazaki-esque.
Yeah, it's very cute, and it moved very well from the clip that I saw, because you can only do like 10-minute clips. And no, it's like, as much as I'm looking forward to like all their CGI stuff, especially that new one that's being made by the same studio that did Nezha and Zhang Zia. That just, oh my gosh, we'll have to talk about that film sometime, because I'm sure it's going to come over next year. Also, the 2D animation looks great, and I keep seeing small clips of it, and I'm a little worried about how many mythological beings that are in folklore and stuff that they're going to shove into this movie, because that's kind of one of the problems that I had with Big Fish and Begonia. It like, there were all these characters, and a lot of them didn't matter, but they were all there, and it was just like, okay, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Why are you talking? What part of the story do you help develop? And it, like, I guess it's like, it's going to be like just world building and such, but we'll have to see. And that is it. And any other news that we may have missed, we'll talk about next time.
All right. With that said, let's move on to the heavier of the shows first. Let's talk about Great Pretender.
Yeah, the final case. The last 9 episodes have shown up. And yeah, so if you remember, we talked about the Great Pretender last time, a few months back, actually. We talked about it alongside Owl House and Glitch Tech, and which are all great shows. That was probably one of the more positive shows that we
I love how you completely ignored Hoops.
Yeah, we're done. We're done until we talk about the best to worst of last year for cartoon shows. And so, where to start with this? So, Edamura is like, you know what? I'm done. He's doing the same shindig that we complained about last time, where he's just like, I'm done. I'm retiring. I'm going to start a new life. And well, he gets a job at a giant company, and the company does the most joyous of things: child trafficking.
What a great way
And
to start the season.
yeah, when I realized, I was like, okay, when's the needle gonna drop? And then it dropped, and I was like, yikes. So this case is called the Wizard of Far East, and basically it's Edamura and the gang getting mixed up with the Japanese yakuza and the triad um or like some triad gang in China about child trafficking, and twists and turns abound, and we will talk about them. So first off, what did you think about this, I guess, quote unquote second season?
I think it's I think I liked it just about as much as the previous three cases. Um, but the stuff I was really interested in was the story of Edamura's father, Oz. Get it? Wizard of Oz.
Oh gosh. I just got that. Oh man. Okay. So yeah, one of the twists is Anamura's dad is still alive, and he's working as the translator for the triad. And let's see here. He is voiced by Kirk Thornton, who you might know from, oh gosh, what I guess the smaller question would be, or the quicker question would be, what don't you know him as? You know, he's Gabumon from Digimon. He's uh Shadow the Hedgehog. He's, oh gosh, yeah, big names. Um yeah, where do we start with this?
Why don't we start with well, we'll start with the reveal of Oz being alive.
Yeah, you start us off.
Um, I think the first time that Edamura figured out that was him, one of the very first things I messaged you was, "Wow, Edamura's father is an asshole."
Yeah. And yeah, and I was just like, dude, I'm at work. I haven't seen the episode yet. And I thought you were just referencing the fact of him working with child traffickers that we find out early on in the show. But that's not the case. He is actually alive, and as we find out, has worked with our blonde, everyone's favorite punk, Laurent, in the past, alongside Shion Kim, and this season also reveals the who the ring belongs to that Laurent wears around his ring, by a woman named Dorothy, voiced by Laura Stahl. And man, the twists and turns. This is probably the darkest heist, and not just because it's child trafficking. I mean, I'm kind of at a loss of where to start with this, because there are so many twists and turns that this new season takes, or this final case takes. Like, we see the return of Clark Ibrahim, one of the two brothers who was doing that rigged flying racing or plane racing thing. And then we see the dad come back, and then he almost helps Edamura and then betrays him. And then you think Edamura kills him. And then you actually find out about Laurent's past and how he became a quote unquote confidence man. I mean, what do you have to say? Like, what did you like about this season?
Um, remember how last time, the end of the third case kind of foreshadowed that we would learn more about Laurent's past?
Yeah.
I like how they actually delivered on that, and
Yeah. Yeah.
tying Laurent to Edamura's father was at some points it got a little too convenient.
Okay. Yeah. I want to talk about that soon, but keep going.
Um, but the more I watched like the flashback moments, the less I cared about that, and more I was just invested in um looking at a very different portrayal of Laurent. Like he seemed a lot. He seemed almost like he seemed a lot more similar to Edamura,
Yeah,
and
that's
that's and I guess that's why they bonded like so well.
yeah. No, Laurent had a very similar past to Edamura, where he wanted to help out his mom who had some kind of health issue. They weren't very clear about what she had. Um, and then she got screwed over, passed away, and he just kind of coasted on life. Let's just say that. And then when he was going to kill the guy who screwed over his mother and out of money and whatnot, that's when he runs into Dorothy, who actually it was the one who introduces him to the confidence lifestyle. And I have to say, they did not disappoint with Dorothy. I I thought she was my favorite character for a lot of this.
She was very she was delightful.
Yeah, and it was just nice to see like an anime production like make a fleshed out uh uh how do I word this? I want to be careful.
A love interest with an actual personality.
Well, that and how they handled a person of color on this show, because this whole show has been a very like a trip around the world, because we go from the US, we go to the Middle East, we go to Europe, and then we travel to and from China to Turkey to back to Japan. And sometimes anime does not have the best reputation with how they handle other uh, races and cultures. And I think, like, yes, there are mild themes of racism, and especially in the dialogue, but it's mostly from the bad guys,
Yeah.
and which was nice. And I was kind of worried when I saw Dorothy. I was just like, oh no, they do, a lot. There are a few anime in the past that do not handle black characters well, and sometimes it's just bad taste. And they're just saying like, oh, we think this is funny, but then we see it and it's like, yikes. And but man, I just loved her working off of Laurent, and Laura Stahl does a fantastic performance as her. And yeah, she's full of energy, she's confident, and well, with her context to the show's amazing ending with, the Freddie Mercury Great Pretender song, now has a emotionally destroying context to it.
Oh yeah.
So at first, we like, from what we assume, she is killed by the same triad that they tried to take down earlier, because we find out that Laurent tried this takedown before with trying to take down Xiao Lu, the head of the triad, and it ended up with Dorothy getting shot, and that put him into Laurent into a very, of course, understandable spiral of depression and just not wanting to live. And one day when he's in his misery, he hears something outside, and he thinks it's Dorothy, that she's back, because she just faked it, because this whole show has multiple sequences of people getting shot, and then they come back and they're like, oh yeah, I'm okay. And it turns out it was just a cat, and that just kind of didn't help things. And then you find out that that's the same cat in the ending of the show, and it's just like, thank you, anime. Now I can't enjoy this without being super depressed. And it was just interesting how they came back to everything. with how like it was a proper way like approach to revenge. But what else do you have? Did you like about this season?
Um, Edamura, I think, is one of my favorite protagonists of this year. He's he walks this really fine line between, you know, like developing like very genuine relationships with his marks. Um, like obviously, this is his fourth big case, so he's got this whole confidence man routine down. But like as you're watching the show, he sells these relationships so well.
Yeah, I think he does. And like at first, I remember we talked about this show and we were just like loving it, but not liking how Edamura was always like, okay, one more and that's it. But it was nice to see him take more control of the situation, because instead of just like reverting back to being the, I guess you could say onlooker to the rest of the heist, um, he takes center stage, because like when they get caught, until you find out later about how the whole heist was pulled off. Um, he watches two of his friends get killed, Cynthia Moore and Abigail Jones, and then he shoots his own dad. And then of course you find out obvious later, everyone was actually okay and they were actually in on the heist. And it was just interesting to see Edamura like take more control of the situation, because I might need to rewatch the first season again, or the three previous heists, because I don't think he was ever the main pull of the main focus of the heist. He was not the one instigating everything. It was mostly Laurent or Abigail or Cynthia.
And that was usually done on purpose, because
Yeah.
for whatever reason they always kept him out of the loop.
Yeah.
Probably because they just don't trust him.
I don't blame him. I understand, because when you're pulling off a heist, one wrong move, one wrong word could just undo everything. And I liked that Edamura became more tolerable and he became more likable. Um, but I guess I kind of want to talk about this now. I think this final season, first of all, I think the whole season's great. Just overall great. I think there was a few too many times where there was just too much reliance on convenience.
I do not disagree. And
Like
is there one particular like breaking point for you?
almost at every kind of twist and turn where it's like, oh, this was planned all along. I was like, okay, well, yeah, obvious that was. Okay, obvious that was. And then we get near the end where Edamura is still on top. And I'm going to say it's when they bring back the other villains.
The Dragon Ball moment.
Yeah, the Dragon Ball moment. Because they bring back Eddie Casano. Where is he? Sam Ibrahim and James Coleman, the three that they screwed over last time. And I guess to me, I was like, shouldn't these three be in jail or something? And how did they know that they weren't going to kill them right off the bat? Because they screwed them all out of millions of dollars. And then it was just like, I guess it was it like my I guess my what's that, suspension of disbelief. It wasn't all the way like taken, like I guess it wasn't at its limit, but it almost broke to the point where I was just like, okay, you can't be this overly prepared. I guess the one that kind of broke me was the fact that Laurent has been planning this heist for years. And the fact that it's like, oh, I just happened to run into Edamura, and I knew that that was Oz's character. I mean, it's not character, son. And he, I don't know. I mean, do you have any points where you were just kind of like, okay?
Um, I kind of feel that way too. I think the way they executed it worked, but
Yeah.
like just on paper, that Laurent knew about Oz's son. Um, it like it kind it kind of retcons the the first season a little bit.
Yeah. I think what bothers me about it is also the fact that Oz, like, Edamura's mom knew that Oz was not dead, and he and that I don't know. I I'm not going to say it undercuts everything, but I don't know. I guess it was just like there were so many variables in life, and maybe it's just because I came off of Soul as I was while I'm thinking about this. Um, it's I guess it's just like, oh, nothing happened that could hurt this case. Nothing went out of order. Everything didn't dissolve into chaos and all that jazz. So it's a little weird that everything worked out perfectly, but I will say the execution still put a smile on my face with how they screwed over two massive gang corporations and then or organizations, and also basically got them into the same spot Edamura was in episode 1. Like they screwed them out of, I'm going to assume, like billions of dollars just in like transferred into US currency, and the villains end up on a deserted island with the smugly kind of creepy Ishigami, voiced by James Taku Leung, yelling for help the same way in almost the same tone as Edamura when he was hung upside down on a Hollywood sign. I thought that was great. And even though I have an issue with just how convenient everything was, getting to point A to point B was a delight. And I did get a kind of a kick out of like small little details, like the room that Abigail stayed in, who was undercover as a princess of the Middle East. And I looked in the corner and I was like, that there's a Wii right there. Like, I don't know, that just kind of brought a smile to my face.
Yeah, details like that are kind of fun.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I'll just kind of accept the fact that the villains were like okay with going in on this huge heist, and I guess they got a cut of the money as well. But it was just kind of funny that they're like, hey, no hard feelings. You may have screwed over our scams and whatnot, but yeah, let's screw over some other people. So, I mean, what do you think about them bringing back the villains?
Well, this leads me to a question. It like have they confirmed that this is like the final season?
Yes, from what I can tell, this is the final season. There's no like season 3 or anything like that. It's a complete story.
Okay, that um, from a storytelling perspective, that it makes more sense why you would bring back like the previous marks to join in this one final case. But I think what I love the most about how this plan all came together was in the last episode, where we get to see them like building this tower on the island.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And something else I like about the building itself is how it looks incomplete. Like only like the top half has the windows,
Yeah.
but not the bottom.
Yeah, no. Like we said, I might be complaining a lot about how everything went, but it was just so much fun to see them like how the SWAT team sequence got screwed over, and then seeing the film director come in and be like, now I'm taking all the money, and then seeing Ozaki or Oz get stabbed by his own son, and then Laurent just slashes into Edamura, and then the entire room gets shot up, but then you get to see from the inside, and they're just shooting into the air and just acting all big and tough, and then everyone comes in, like everyone else is like, oh, I guess everyone's dead, and then they find out everyone's gone.
Oh,
And
something we didn't talk about was
oh,
how the two different teams got everyone in the same location by basically drugging them.
oh
And
gosh.
I guess they didn't travel too far, because whatever island this was must have been pretty close by. So
Yeah.
they just had to drug them so they don't get suspicious of where they're going.
Yeah, no, I think that is correct. And I do love how this show does break down how everything was executed, and no, it just helped wrap everything up. And then, like I said, I was like, man, that was a good ending. And then the post credit scene happens, and I guess let's just spoil it now. Dorothy's alive, and I how did you react to this news? Because it's like you find out that she has amnesia, or she had amnesia from the incident, and is now just living on a let's see, on an island near Taiwan. And I mean, what did you think?
I was both surprised and not surprised at the same time. Like this show is kind of built on its twists and turns. So like to give us one more in the epilogue um was kind of par for the course.
Yeah, and I
That
thought
being
that, yeah,
that
go
being
ahead.
said, um it's a little bit surprising only because you know we all thought that this was like the one death that wasn't faked. So the question is, how the hell did she survive after getting shot off the boat?
Yeah. And yeah, no, I'm wondering how that worked. I guess I wish they kind of explained that, or even if they do like a small little epilogue episode about that. And I guess I would like to actually see her get back together with Laurent, just to wrap it all up more. Um, but I don't know. What do you think they should have kept her dead? Like, just to kind of not. I mean, do you think this under? Okay, so two questions. Would you have rather have them kept her dead? And two, does this undercut anything?
I don't think it undercuts anything um because it doesn't really hurt Laurent's story. Um, but do I think they should have kept her dead? Um, Maybe. Again, the show is built on twists and turns, so I can't be mad at this epilogue.
No. No, I'm not mad about it either. It's just kind of interesting because I actually wasn't expecting that. I was just thinking, like, yeah, like we said, it would be the one death that was not faked, and it was the one that mattered. And I don't know. I think I don't mind it. I thought it was a great little epilogue, a good little topper to it all. And I'm just happy that this whole show didn't like land with a like a dud,
Yeah,
because
no,
it's
um I'm I'm also not 100% convinced that this is the last season yet. I think they have maybe one more story um left to tell.
mhm.
But if this is the last, then that's great, because what all four cases have done is they've given each of the new crew something to do. Like
Yeah.
um like the first case was kind of built around Enamura. Um
Yeah.
the second case, Abby got her time to shine. Then case 3 was all about Cynthia,
Hmm.
and now this is Laurent's origin story.
Yeah, I think that was going to, it was like a mix of Laurent's like completion as a individual and Edamura's completion as well. And I'm glad that like in the end, I think I would still consider this one of the 5 best anime of the year.
Oh, totally.
I might have to I have to go back through a few others just to see, but I really, really liked uh, the overall experience of The Great Pretender, and I still consider it like a good gateway anime because it still never like discarded its whole like multicultural, more US anime style appeal. Like you could show that, like, if someone wanted to get into anime, you could use this anime as an example, or to like a starting point, or like one kind. It's like it's how like Cowboy Bebop is. This.
I was going to say that exact example. Like there are people who are not huge anime buffs but love Cowboy Bebop, and this has like that similar energy, where like if you're into heist films like the Ocean's trilogy, I would easily recommend this series.
Yeah, no, this was a good one. Um, Congrats, Netflix. You've made like I think a good third of the best anime this year. Um, but yeah, no, definitely recommend it. The whole show is out. Definitely, I definitely recommend binging it this holiday season if you can or want to. But
And now and
yeah, go ahead.
now on to somewhat happier um, series. This is the delightful Hilda, created by Luke Pearson, based on his own children's graphic novel.
Mm-hmm. So this show started back in 2018. It was kind of like when Netflix was starting to kick in with its big push with animation. And this one got a lot of hype, mostly because of its tone and its popularity of the graphic novels. And yeah, it's a great show. I mean, like, I guess the overall, just like, it's an overall just fantastic show that anyone can watch. It might not be the best one to start a super young kid with, but I think, I mean, you know what? I don't think, I think this is a good gateway cartoon also to start with people. So
Oh yeah, like this feels like a show that I would have like stumbled across like when I was younger, because it has that very laid back like very British sensibility.
yeah, and but I guess let's talk about the premise for those that may not know, because Netflix's marketing sucks. So, Hilda is a young girl who grew up with her mother in a cabin in the woods. Over the course of the series, she and her deer fox Twig, later accompanied by an elf named Alfur, and friends David and Frida, go on a number of adventures interacting with and befriending the mysterious animals and spirits that live in and around the city of Trollberg. And what the main pull of this show, that it's not just another Adventure Time or Over the Garden Wall or Steven Universe kind of show. Don't let the art style um, make you believe otherwise. It has similar vibes and tones to that show, but it's mostly a show that's based on Scandinavian folklore. And it has its own distinct fantasy feel. But I kind of wanted to start with like what I think is the most appealing aspect of Hilda. This show is super wholesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of shows, a lot of the shows that we talked about tend to have like a pretty easygoing uh beginning, and then it keeps ramping up as the show goes on.
And
And you usually get
it's not like this one doesn't, but even as it's ramped up, it still maintains that wholesome energy.
well, I think what I like about how it ramps itself up is it doesn't divulge into like it's going to end the world kind of thing. Like whatever happens here will affect everything else. No, whatever happens in this country will stay in this country. It it's like how Tremors before the movie sequels happened. Like everything was going to happen in paradise. If that makes sense. And it it's like they and there's no like as of right now with the 2 seasons and a 70-minute movie in the works. um it's it can get big, but it never gets too big to affect like we know that the Owl House is going to build up to something with the evil sorcerer is going to try to get a portal to the human world and whatnot going. And like with Gravity Falls, with Grunkle Stan and the mystery of the books. Here, it's just like everything's so self-contained in this one city that they live in. And I kind of like that. It's small, it's big, but it's big within a small scale, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that.
And it's never like, and another thing that I like is that there are antagonistic forces, but there's no real straight up bad guy. It's like the Ghibli approach. There are people who have more villainous intent, but there's nothing quite like it's not like an Oliver Cromwell and Wolfwalkers, or like there hasn't been a looming like evil force that Hilda has had to go against. It's more just she's going to deal with some ghosts off the ocean side part of the city. Okay. She's going to deal with the giants that live in the countryside in the mountains. Okay. There's no like evil person watching over her going like, you are the key to my like conquering of the world or something like that. No. It's just like her adventures of dealing with moving to a city after a giant steps on her house and then dealing with having to interact with humans and the wildlife, aka the folklore, the creatures and whatnot. I also like that for a show that's like we're dealing with super like folklore and monsters and creatures and spirits and whatnot. Everyone's on the same page. There's no like we got to keep this a secret. No, everybody knows about the trolls. Everybody knows about Woodman. They know about the little house spirits, and they know about the giants and the salt lions and the ghosts. It's like there's no point in having a plot or like a plot point where they have to like make sure nobody knows about it.
And just to add to that point, I love I love how they depict elves in this world. Like they're invisible, but only because you haven't filled out the proper paperwork.
The bureaucratic elves. And even though it's like they're invisible and are like humans can walk right through them, they're still pretty peeved that Hilda and her mom haven't moved yet in the first episode. And then it's I love that whole storyline where it's like she goes to the mayor and then everyone's freaking out because a giant human is looking at them. And he's like, I like the paperwork's done. There's nothing we can do about it. Okay, maybe you can go talk to the prime minister about this. And it's like, to be fair, I only said I'd get rid of you because it would get me elected, and here we are. Or it's like when they get to the prime minister of the elves, they all just panic, and then she's like, "No, I'm not here to hurt anyone." They're like, "Oh, okay." It's so funny because all they do is like, well, by everything they do, they have to sign a paper, go over legal mumbo jumbo. It's really delightful.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite episodes that kind of goes deeper into the the elves and their and all their contracts is episode 7 of season 1, The Lost Clan.
Oh
That's
yeah.
that's when we meet Bartel and his Bartel, Agnes, and all of his warrior friends.
Yeah, the Braga family. And it's just so funny with the history of the Aldrich family and the Braga family that the entire war and the Braga's banishment, all because they made a slight goof on a land dispute. And it's like, and nobody was going to die in this. The whole epic battle was just making a legal document that satisfied both parties. It's so different, and I love that there's such a kindness to this world, even though there's like giants and ghoulish miras that give you nightmares. But there's just like this, like I said, this kindness, this like loving nature to it all.
Yeah, for all of the supernatural elements, there's also a lot of um emotional reality too.
Yeah,
If
go ahead.
you notice, um all the Maras are specifically depicted as teenagers
Yeah.
who are basically just acting as bullies towards the kids.
Yeah, no, so like I because it's like it's interesting because there are plenty of times where the show does slightly dip into darker territories, like the giants in the first 2 episodes that Hilda encounters, and you think like, oh man, this giant's going to be trouble, and the giant's just like, I just been coming back here for centuries because I was coming here to meet another giant. And then you find out that the other giant was a mountain in the distance covered in snow and just fell asleep. And it's just so touching. The giants aren't like meat eaters and whatnot. They're just people. They're just living beings that just live in this world along with everyone else. And it is unfortunately funny that it's like, yes, we saved our home, we got our deals with the elves settled, and the giants found each other, only for the giants to crush Hilda's home
Without
with
any remorse.
yeah, with no remorse, no like, oops, sorry. And it's just like it's very low key with how they handle the transition from living in the countryside to moving into the city. And at first there are just like a few simple like morals, like how like the metaphors with the doors, like every door is the same but every door is different. It's like every home is the same but every home is going to be different, and every person is going to be like that. And it just takes its time, just kind of eases you into what you're going to be getting into. And that includes Hilda meeting her 2 friends. What are their names again?
David and Frida.
Yeah, David and Frida. Frida is voiced by Amira Falzon Ojo, and David is voiced by Oliver Nelson. Frida is a bookish, know-it-all, just like overachiever, I would say. And David is the timid, shy boy of the group. What did you think about these two characters? We're just going to jump around a little as we talk about the overall show.
I like her friends. I think the show really found its footing once the trio was established. Um, because as much I would have enjoyed seeing Hilda going off on adventures on her own.
Yeah.
I think she needed a support group, people to talk to, people to like bounce ideas off
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, because it's like Hilda kind of fits that gap of being like the headstrong, like eager individual, while Frida is the more sensible one, and David's just like, maybe we shouldn't tick off that giant skeleton, maybe, or something like that. And no, it's a good dynamic of characters. And though I have to say, my favorite interaction with the kids and Hilda doesn't come with like them precisely. It's more when we get Woodman, a very passive aggressive but wise little wood spirit who will say something wise and then say something kind of petty and passive, like passive aggressive. Like he'll say like, yeah, but you know, every house is different. This is going to be your home, and your home is what you make of it. And she's like, wait, can you say that again? Repeating things makes me anxious. Bye. uh, I just like the cast of characters that we get introduced. I love Hilda's mom, and luckily she gets a lot more development in season 2. But I just like how she's pretty okay overall with the creatures and whatnot. Though she's kind of annoyed with Woodman just kind of entering and leaving the door open. But do you have any other like favorite characters that they all interact with?
You already talked about Woodman, who
Yeah.
I think gets better as the season progresses.
Oh gosh.
Well,
first of all, I have to say my favorite sequence of Woodman is I think the second season. I think it's the second episode when you're introduced to when Hilda encounters Woodman gambling inside a parlor inside the town. And after he wins everything, gets kicked out, he goes to the docks and you find out that he won a boat. And he's just like, you don't think they'd throw me out because I won a hat, did you?
Yeah, that line was good.
Yeah, and but yeah, go ahead. Like, what characters did you like?
So aside from Woodman, I really do like Hilda's mother, and I think they have some of the best like these two have some of the best like mother-daughter bonding in any other like series with in any other series I've seen with like single parents. I think Hilda covers that territory the best.
Yeah, it doesn't really put like a lot of times it's very easy to like make a simple conflict of interest, being that like Hilda's mom is just stressed out being a single mother and such, but she's not really stressed out. She just kind of takes whatever life gives her. And I respect that. They don't, and I think that it's also because of watching shows like The Fungies and films like Wolfwalkers. They never make the conflict that, oh, she's a single mom, that's a conflict. No, it's just adapting, living, and dealing with some personal and sometimes petty things that she and Hilda get in fights for. So,
and we also have to remember that Hilda is, I'm going to assume, somewhere between like the ages of 7 and 12.
I'm going to find that out right now, but keep going.
In season 2,
I think she's 11.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, but in season 2, we get introduced to like one of the sillier characters in the show, um, Eric Alberg, who's like the head of the safety patrol. And when he's introduced, the first character that came to mind was Zach Brannigan from Futurama.
Oh, that's too fitting. That is absolutely who he is, because he's so they have like a security patrol team of I guess I wouldn't call them hunters, but they do have like net guns, and they are in charge of taking care of any threats in the town. And what's the character's name?
Eric Alberg.
Eric Alberg is like more about the legacy and the fame of being like a troll hunter, but not about actually doing the work. Or it's like at least he's not fully committed to the work. I get from what I take from it, because it always seems like he wants to have a photo opportunity, a great press conference, and just have all eyes on him. But but go ahead. Go on.
The other one we haven't talked about yet is another recurring character named Victoria Van Gale. She's their meteorologist who also happens to be a mad scientist.
Oh gosh, she's interesting, because in the first season we encounter her. Well, it's not even like the first time we encounter her. She's mentioned a couple times throughout the first season about being the most accurate weather person. And then we finally find out why that is. She captured a weather spirit and attracts other weather spirits to the location of Trollberg, and she's not a terrible person, but it's like she's all about the science of it all, and she doesn't have the humanity aspect to anchor her. But what do you think?
Yeah, that's pretty spot on. In in a lot of stories with mad scientists, they're like these characters usually either start off with well-intentioned ideas, but then become corrupt. With Van Gale, I think that's pretty spot on. That um, it's not like she's trying to you know, destroy the world, or like she's more interested in the science of it all than
Anything else?
yeah.
And then that kind of ends, like, has her end up dealing with dark magic and getting stuck in another location. But you can find out how that happens. But that's kind of the thing I like about the show. There are evil forces, but they're not evil by nature. Like, they're not just distinctly evil. Like the trolls, like, they're considered a major threat to the town, because anytime it's nighttime, the trolls move around and they can cause a lot of damage with their wrestling and antics. But like we see in the first episode, one troll is trying to get at Hilda, and you think like, oh, I'm going to eat you. No, he's more, it's she, well, I think it's a she, is more annoyed by the fact of the noise from the bell, because the bell, it's kind of like a dog whistle per se. And Hilda takes the bell off, and then the troll leaves and does come back throughout the whole show. And like I said, that's what I kind of like about the show. Like another good example is when they meet those pirate ghosts. They bring them back into town because they find out that they were from the town, and they summon up the ghosts and the ghosts from the town's graveyard. And you find out that all the ghosts from the ocean have family members of the ghosts that are in the town. And there's no like like, oh, we'll take down the sea ghosts. No, it's they find out that like one of them's like the leader of the sea ghosts was the daughter of one of the other ghosts, and everything just kind of ends pretty optimistically to a degree with
Yeah,
that.
that's what I like about the show. How it, um, like Hilda herself is sort of like the embodiment of optimism that I think everyone strives towards.
Yeah, it's a show that's all about cooperating and compromise and just trying to learn to live with one another and like peacefully because there's just there's not like I said, I don't want to repeat myself. Just saying there's not a single evil person. Like even the town security people, they're not bad people. They're just doing their job, and only one of them, Eric, is more of a threat just because of his antics. Where
Yeah,
everyone else,
he's more just like a bumbling idiot than like a malicious force.
and that even goes down to the secret society of witches that are in this town, with the librarian Kaiza, who kind of comes up from time to time in season 1 and then becomes a reoccurring character through season 2. Like she's helpful, but she's definitely like keeps herself at a distance because of her past and her upbringing. And what I like about this show is they'll sprinkle little details that will build that like are set and then will grow into what will happen in the next episode. Like in season 1 when they deal with those onion people, uh David finds a rock, and then in the next episode it's about how that rock was actually a baby troll, which actually leads into one of my favorite sequences where the mother troll realizes that the baby's on the other side of the wall, and she starts digging at night, and then during the day she turns back into a rock, and then when it goes back to night she's digging, and you see all the onion people freaking out because of the troll digging, and then yeah, and that becomes a conflict of the episode, and then they'll set up something else, and then now we'll go into episode 4, then episode 5 and 6, and it just seems like a well-crafted show, like in that regard. It reminds me of Kippo in the Age of Wonder Beasts in that regard.
Yeah, yeah, it really does.
And I have to say, I love Kaiza. I just love her kind of nonchalant, like, oh, here's the book you need, bye. And then it's like she kind of comes off as like, I don't really care about everyone else. But then she runs into let's see, Matilda Pilkvist, this at first seemingly just kind of friendly old lady with this, I'm guessing a cloud dog or something, because I'm not really sure what exactly that familiar is. It's adorable, but I don't know.
It is adorable.
But I'm not entirely sure what it is. And I just like that because you're introduced to her in the second episode, and then like later on you find out who she actually is. And then it's like you find out about like the distant neighbor that Hilda lives next to, the old man. And then you find out his connection with Matilda. And that was probably one of my favorite episodes.
Oh, the 50-year night.
Yeah, the 50-year night, and how it works with time travel, and just how it deals with like, yeah, we could change time and make something happen, but that's going to have consequences to it. Granted, I don't think I was expecting a killer worm, a time worm, but it was just super touching, and you don't quite expect that from it. I mean, I guess we should start expecting this from shows like, because since we're in a Adventure Time, Steven Universe kind of world. But this one hits a little harder, not because of like the intensity of any of these sequences. It's more just the heart of it all. And that's what I like about it. Like I said, it keeps with that low key tone of the overall show.
Yeah, they find fun and unique ways to play with certain tropes. Um I've seen plenty of time travel stories, but this one's kind of unique where their gateway into the past is through like
An old
a literal like relic.
Yeah, an old magazine. And I think that's so fun. No time machine, no like snapping your fingers or whatever. It's a literal gateway to the past, which is what I think is kind of fun about that. And I also, and it is just kind of interesting to see how the world unfolds in this show. I was kind of curious about what the conflict would be in season 1, and I loved the whole giant demon dog. And then you find out that the demon dog's name is Jelly Bean. And you find out about the whole thing with the house spirits and how it connects to this one spirit and whatnot. And it's just great. um, what's another part you want to talk about, like, or anything about this?
I do want to talk a little bit about the Nisei, who we learn is named Tantu.
Well, they're
And
all named Tontu.
okay, that's one thing. That's another funny gag that they're all named Tantu.
Yeah. But yeah, go on.
But I do like how we end season 1 on a two-parter that sets up that the Tantus are like at first we think they kind of have this bad reputation, because they come into people's homes and they mess everything up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why they're banned.
Yeah.
But then once we learn about Jelly Bean and how it's all just a misunderstanding, that's when Tantu gets to join the cast of he gets to join the main cast. And honestly, he makes season 2 a lot more fun.
I think he's probably the comedic point of season 2. I love like the sequence when they're setting up another board game, and he's like, "These rules are awfully complicated." He doesn't even care or know what's exactly going on between Hilda and her mom, and he's just like, "Wait, are we playing the game still?" And then Hilda storms off, the mom storms off, and he's like, "So we're not playing." Or no, it's just man, there's just a, I don't know. I'm sorry that I sound so scattered about this. It was this show just has a lot of interesting points of interest to talk about. And I think one of the things I want to talk about is the voice cast for the show. Because unlike a lot of shows, this cast isn't that big. And it has a few big names, but it's not like Adventure Time or Steven Universe where they have guest people or reoccurring guests.
Well, there's
Well,
one.
I mean, there's one, but we'll get to that. But they're not like reliant on celebrities coming in. But I mean, of course, we have to talk about Hilda's voice actress, Bella Ramsey, who you all might know as the young queen in Game of Thrones, who had the vinegar and spirit of Samuel Jackson from Pulp Fiction, just taking no shenanigans. And I have to say, she's great in this show. I think she brings like a fun, loving energy to Hilda. And but here's what I mean. A lot of times when I was prepping for this episode, I tried to look up like who are all the characters voiced by. Well, they have the same set of actors for mostly everything. And so it's like they have Aiko Mitchell, who, voices, Woodman. And then they have David Menken, who isn't too big. I mean, if you played Xenoblade Chronicles 2, he voices Malos, or if you play like Little Big Planet, he's the Flash or Wally West in that, or he's Preston Marlowe in the Battlefield Bad Company games. And then you have like Elin Galkov, who voices, I'm just gonna say like probably the kid characters because he's a young
Probably.
kid. And then you have like Olafur Dari Olafsson, who if you watched the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, he was the archer character. And if if I'm correct, he's also like an actor that you see a lot of. He's in like the Meg. He's everywhere. Like I like, yeah, he's like in The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. He's in Lady Dynamite. He's in The Deep.
The BFG.
Yeah, the BFG. He's in there's a lot you can go into. The Last Witch Hunter. He's in Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga. He plays one of the heads of the company representing Fire Saga. He's in The Widow. He's in Fantastic Beasts. He's everywhere. You've probably seen him like in one place or another. And I think he voices some of the characters like the giants and such. He has that like deep kind of dad voice. You have Rachel Atkins, who I mean, if you've played like Nino Kuni, she's Queen Lola, or and she's like Esma Potts from Puppeteer, which was a great video game. And she also does like the voice dubbing for Dolores Umbridge from the Harry Potter games. And I don't know if that's her actually from Harry Potter, but well, I'll have to look that up. We have Reese Pockney, who's also a young kid actor. And then we have Simon Greenall, who you've heard of him, Mike. He's in Early Man. He plays Emok and Thongo, two of the cavemen from that film. But every once in a while, they'll bring on someone a little different, especially with the season 2. Well, I guess let's talk about like quickly. Like Eric Alberg is voiced by John Hopkins, who you might know him as Lowell from Alice in Wonderland, and he's in the remake from 2010. And then Gerda, the deputy, is voiced by Lucy Montgomery, who is, I think, just great. She's very delightful as she's, like you said, the deputy. But I guess since it's the holidays as we record this, let's talk about the Christmas episode.
Yes.
So yeah, you go ahead.
So there's a character in this episode. Let me just bring it up really quick.
Yeah, the Yule lads, or I think, or it's something like that.
Yeah, the Yule lads. This is where naughty kids are supposedly taken by this like mysterious ogre.
Yeah, basically, like, I'm sure like this is kind of before I realized that this was an entirely different being. But if you've heard of Krampus, this is basically that kind of creature of folklore. And basically the Yule lads are these mischievous little elves, or elf-like characters, who basically help grab the naughty kids because they're very insistent that, like, are you a good kid or are you a naughty kid? And out of an entire show that has not relied on celebrity appearances, the Yule Lad leader is voiced by Andy Serkis.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that's amusing in a lot of ways, because it's like, wow, they actually got a celebrity, not like in a negative way, and not that the other people aren't celebrities in their own right, but it was just interesting to have a very different guest name on, like, in an episode.
I thought for a second that it might have been like Steve Bloom, but then I thought about it, and most, if not all, of the voice actors in this show are British, So it would make sense that they have like a British actor come in to play this role.
Yeah, no, it was just amusing of like just to see him there, and it's like, oh hey, Andy Serkis, not surprised to see you here, not in a bad way. It was just like, oh, that's fun. And man, the animation in this show, especially their animation, is just delightful. They jump around, they're very energetic and silly, but but of course there's also the like a lot of I think the Yule lads have some of the better jokes because when you first meet them, they're like, "We're the Yule lads. We're the 13 Yule lads," and there's only 7 of you, and it's like we work in shifts, or it's and probably some of the darker folklore bits where it's like they were also naughty and like the Yule lads and their mom who is this creature known as a gorilla was going to eat them, and it's like, hey, I promise I'll give you 2 naughty kids if you spare me. And then basically the gorilla caught on and then ate 14 through 21. Man, do you have like what did you think about the animation with this show? Since we're talking about it a little.
I love the very like comic book influenced style.
Mm-hmm.
It obviously it looks a little bit different from the graphic novel, but it still kind of maintains the spirit of the source material in terms of its design.
It doesn't look all that different, or it's just like maybe a more streamlined approach. But even then, the comic designs were not all like super complicated, which was kind of nice. And I can tell that there's definitely more like animation rigs just with how the characters moved. But I'm not bothered by that. I know some people are kind of bothered by it because it's like, oh, it's not pure 2D, blah, blah, blah. But it's all about how you execute those rigs. And like it's like there's definitely a little more bounce, there's a little more energy to them. It's kind of like watching a Star versus the Forces of Evil, because you can tell that one has a slightly more flash based approach to animation, but it's still like super bouncy. And that's what I get from Hilda, where it's like there was just maybe a few more in between frames, a little more like movement and just action, because the problem is like with animation rigs, from what I've seen and what people kind of complain about, is that depending on how they are, like with the budget and the team that they have, they look very stiff. But you wouldn't know that with this show.
Yeah, as far as I know, like you could have told me that this was like just pure traditional animation. Like sure, some shots are a little bit more obvious, like they're more obvious rigs than others, but like to an untrained eye, this just feels like it feels timeless, that style.
Yeah, and another thing that and this is something that everyone likes to point out. They like to point out the color direction, like the direction that they took with coloring everything. Instead of being like overly neon bright or like bubblegum looking, it's all very homey, very comforting, very low key colors.
It's very rustic.
Yeah, because even though like Hilda is this girl with blue hair and a red jacket and a yellow scarf, it's not like super bright. It's not like an Adventure Time like color scheme. It's more, I guess, somewhat Gravity Falls ish. But if Gravity Falls just did not have to deal with an interdimensional threat. And I just love this approach because it's easy to like think like, oh, these other shows are designed like this, we'll just do that. And it's like, no, you got to make your own distinct take on the look. You can't just say that it works for this show, so it's going to work for this show. And I like the little detail of when they're far away, they use different character models.
Yeah, I that's something I picked up on as well. Like the when the characters are at a distance, it looks like the models are like basically stick figures.
Yeah, and especially with the elves, and they even kind of make fun of the fact that the elves don't have hands, or they're not traditional hands.
What was like the one of the jokes from one of the first episodes? Like it's like this is out of my hands. I have no hands.
Yeah, I forgot how much, and that's the kind of thing with the show. The humor is so witty, but like the rest of the show, it's very low key witty. Like it's not like, oh, they'll say a joke and if you're not paying attention you'll miss it. No, it's like you'll they don't go too fast. They don't like take forever to set up the punchline. They're just kind of, it feels natural within the flow of the dialogue. And that's what, and I love that. It just like there's no like obvious stopping point for a joke or like a set of jokes and what have you.
Yeah, yeah.
And no, it just helps bring this calm comfort food kind of feel to the world. And even like and yes, it will sometimes dip into slightly darker territories, like with the Mira who cause nightmares and take very much a lot of joy in it. But then they'll use kind of like the Mira in very creative ways. Like in the first season when you find out that like after they encounter their first one, um there's that, like they're doing the whole donations thing for the Sparrow Scouts, and Demira like is trying to act like she's too cool for the school, and then she finds out that her bunny was being donated, and she's like, "No, don't give Mr. Bun Bun or whatever his name was." And then Hilda will just throw out a pretty great line. It's saying like, "Make sure you find friends that you don't want to toss away." And I just thought that was great. And then when you find out that one of her Hilda's friends is getting followed by Amira, I kind of thought that was kind of a take on depression, because that Mira would follow around Frida after a certain incident in the first season.
Oh, yeah.
And and instead of like waiting for the nightmares to happen, she would just kind of wait around, and then at certain points just kind of poke and prod at Frida to like just not well, you know, it's like the depression cat from Big Mouth. It's like a representation of it. And uh no, I just love how creative they are with these mystical creatures. And I love like the dragon that they encounter when they're trying to get out of the elves are trying to get out of the loophole, and all the dragon wants to do is just basically garden. And I like the trolls, how they're pretty harmless even though they're big and made of stone and are imposing. But then you have one that's like, oh, this camera is kind of nice, I'm gonna wear it like a wristwatch, or I'll wear this empty bag of jorts on my head. By the way, I thought George was like some reference to a snack or something, but no, it's just this weird snack company that makes these Cheez-It light snacks in the shape of jorts, you know, jean shorts.
Yeah. It's it is kind of funny, like when you see these shows with like their own unique like their own like unique uh product placement.
Yeah, like I like man, it was just very funny, and they definitely make fun of that more when the what are those mice called? Those mice creatures?
Oh,
Um
the
the tide mice, I
yeah,
think they're
tide mice.
um they're introduced into season 1 and then come back into season 2 when in season 1 when Hilda wants to bring good luck and change to David and her mom. And then it turns out that if the tide mice stay too long on the people that they're put on, the person who casts a spell will take their souls. So they're creepy little mice. and then they encounter a Jort's delivery man, and he ends up running. He ends up getting promoted like every other second, which I thought was very funny. It's like, oh, I just like to doodle, and then he's like, "You're an idea man. We need you in marketing," and then he gets turned into the head of marketing, and then keeps going up and up and up and up, and it gets to a point where jorts are now going to be selling life-size jorts where you can eat and you can wear them. And they're like way too big for the kid in the ad. Like, man, I don't think I've ever found like Hilda is just one of those shows where it just all works. I can't really say there's a downside to anything. Like, I just feel like they're taking their time with this show and they're setting up everything and to have like a payoff to everything that they set up.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's like even trying to nitpick like negatives, you kind of can't do it. The closest I can get is like I think the one thing I didn't like was in episode 9 of season 1, the ghost. This is kind of like the straining point where like Frida starts to like distance herself from Dave and Hilda.
Yeah.
And the only reason I didn't like that is because I'm just never a big fan of the breakup.
Oh yeah, the second act
like
breakup.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that was probably the weakest storyline from season 1. And I think maybe the threat in season 2 was kind of weak. It was just like, oh man, what's up with all the trolls going around? And then it's like, oh, there's just this big, mean, two-headed troll. Okay. And I guess it's like sometimes the threats feel a little silly, like the giant, like when Woodman fails in a gamble, and he's like, I lost you in a bet, and Hilda's like, huh, you lost me to a bunch of elves. He's like, no, him, and it turns out a giant takes her. Wasn't super fond of seeing a giant be a punk because I just kind of like the ethereal quality of the giants that you first meet in the first part of season 1. But I do kind of get I love the gag where it's just like, oh, so it's like, so you don't respect tiny giants. It's always the big giants or something like that. And it's like, we're giants too. We just might be smaller then. And I don't know. It's like I could maybe find like a plot point or a character moment I didn't care for, but it's like, but everything is so well set up that I don't really there's no real negatives to it, or there's no real point in trying to find a negative. And I have to say though, it is very cruel that they end on a cliffhanger for season 2.
Oh yeah, because I know they're working on the movie, but who knows when that'll be finished. And to end where they left off is very not cool.
No, and I say this in a playful, not mean manner, because it is like, oh come on, you're gonna make me wait. And
but to be fair, the gap between season 1 and season 2 was also 2 years, so
yeah, I actually kind of got worried about that because I was like, man, when's that new season coming in? But from what I remember reading, they're basing these off of the graphic novels, and they're kind of working when the graphic novels come out. So it's not like Game of Thrones where it's just like, okay, Martin's not finishing anything up, let's just go in our own direction. They're like, no, we're gonna wait, and then we'll go when the comic's done. We'll keep creating the show then, and I like that they're just taking their time. Like, it's like we've said, you can't rush art. But it just, I love this show.
yeah.
I don't. Yeah, it's like I think if these 2 seasons came out this year, I think it would have been in my top 5 and might even kind of once again fight up against like Owl House and Kippo. But it's definitely the best cartoon from what I remember from 2018. And yeah, I think it's just like it's a deceptive show. It's so warm and calming, but then it'll bring in like dark topic or mature topics, and they'll just sprinkle them in there with a little bit of kindness. And I just love the combination of how they handled this show.
Yeah, this is a show with layers. Like on the outside, it has like a pretty a pretty thick layer of optimism, but as you keep going down to the core, um, like you'll see a little bit more darkness. But uh, but when things escalate, it never goes beyond beyond their own town. Like sure, they'll branch outside the walls, but like even that's like close enough to the city that it all still feels self-contained.
Yeah, and it's just a great show. I don't know what else we could say. I don't know what else I can bring up. Like,
Yeah, no, honestly, just watch the show.
yeah,
You'll love it. I guarantee it.
yeah, and that.
So for recommendations, I have I have a couple. Um, one of them is taking a little bit of a step outside of animation. As far as tone, the closest equivalent to Hilda, as far as tone, are the Paddington movies.
Oh, those are good. I mean, technically, they have some pretty good animated sequences. So,
Oh, certainly.
yeah,
And I think there's even a modern Paddington series now on Nickelodeon. So if you liked the very British sensibilities of Hilda, then you should definitely check out the Paddington movies. Or I'm sure you can find all of the other Paddington series from like the 80s and 90s, because those are also equally delightful.
yeah, those 2 movies are just great. I didn't expect to fall in love with them as much as I did because I was like, I don't know, like, well, and that was just before jumping in, and then I sat down and watched the first one. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great.
Right?
Then watching the second one, it's like, I think this is even better. And yeah, I kind of had a tough time trying to find recommendations
Uh,
for.
one that I've had on the back burner for a while that I want to watch even more after seeing Hilda, um, the Big Bad Fox and Other Tales, because I think that and Ernest and Celeste have
Yeah,
a similar animation style, and I'm convinced that those two films um, had to have influenced the style of Hilda.
yeah, I'd recommend both films. They're definitely in the same boat. I mean, have you seen both films or
I don't think I have. We will definitely do a
like a Benjamin Renner rundown?
oh
And
yeah, certainly.
because those 2 movies are just incredible. I think one movie I'd recommend is a movie called My Miracle, and it's by the same director who did in this oh shoot in this corner of the world, which is about a girl going through World War II. This one takes place after World War II, and it's just kind of like Japan in the countryside dealing with change. But it's not like anything major or deep. It's more just a girl enjoying her summer, and then a girl from a more developed part of Japan or the world um comes in, and they bond. they become friends, and it's very lightweight. It's definitely, I mean, I say lightweight like, and that usually means a bad thing, but it's a very deep movie, but it's focused on like the post World War II era time period is not really the point. It's more just like going to the countryside and hanging out with your friends from there. I will also recommend, well, yeah, I guess, yeah, Ernest and Celestine. Just super wholesome movie, just great animation, very witty comedy, very good physical Looney Tunes like comedy. But yeah, no, watch Ernest and Celestine, watch My Miracle, and yeah, that'll be it.
All right. This for such a light episode, I think we got a lot of great discussion out of these two incredible series.
Yeah, we did. I love these two shows. I'm glad we got to finish Great Pretender, and I'm glad you finally got to see Hilda.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have crossed this off my list. All right, now before we head out, Cameron, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Cam's Eye View. I run a website called camseyeview.biz where I review animated films, and I recently posted a multi-part like batch of short live action reviews, and I'm going to be doing that throughout December and part of January as just playing catch up. And I'm going to be posting my review of Pixar's Soul in the near future, and it might be up by the time this episode comes out. And you can find me in the Renegade Pop Culture Facebook group. I'll post there from time to time. I posted a amusing little post about maybe talking about Yu-Gi-Oh in the future, just talking about at least the first season, just for amusement. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. And you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Captain K42. Check me out on Letterboxd at Coach K42. Find me in all the various Facebook groups just at my name. You can check out Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. Check out all our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen. And last but not least, don't forget to check out renegadepopculture.com. Need to skate? So do we. That'll do it for this installment of Renegade Animation, and we will catch you guys later. Peace out.
Bye.